Perhaps you're familiar with the following scenario. As a leader, you are accountable for the performance of your organization, including safety. And if your safety stats are good, well, then all is well. But if they're not, if your injury rates are markedly higher than your peers, or they've suddenly taken a dire turn upward, then the focus and the blame fall squarely on you. Fair enough. Except, in your view, you are doing everything right. You make sure the physical plant meets OSHA regulations, you provide proper PPE, and spend significant time training the team on safety procedures. But people still get injured at work, and when someone is injured, in many cases, their actions play the largest role in the injury. You are doing everything you are told to do, and you know the injured employee could have done much more to keep themselves safe. But who gets blamed? You, of course. I once had the unfairness of this verbalized to me by a conscientious manager. He said, "Tony, I have people who work for me on second shift, but I can't be here all of second shift. So I sit at home worrying about what they might be doing wrong, and I can't sleep because there's nothing I can do about it." And what he implied was, while he doesn't know what they might be doing wrong, he does know who will get the questions if they have a bad shift. He will. But is there really nothing he can do about it? This manager is right. It's impossible to control the actions of another human being, especially when you aren't present to direct or intercede. And faced with this indisputable fact, most managers do one of two things. Some make what in their minds is a rational choice. They just stop trying. They let the chips fall where they may on what they can't control anyway. Others, like my manager, make the opposite choice. They heroically decide to double down on taking responsibility for actions that are not theirs. And in some cases, they push themselves to a physical and mental limit in their effort to do the impossible. But there's a third and better option, and it's completely counter to the first two. This is why, at least initially, it is so frightening to most managers. Don't exhaust yourself assuming responsibility for others, and don't just do nothing. Instead, work hard at being responsible to your people and let them know your non-negotiable expectation that they be responsible for themselves. Here's what this means. Give them everything they need to keep themselves safe. Provide PPE, remove or mitigate every hazard, establish and teach safe work practices, and insist on strong, non-negotiable lockout-tagout procedures. These are all things you are responsible for. Then, be responsible to them by expecting your team members to be responsible for themselves in the things that only they could control. This doesn't mean you abandon them to fend for themselves after doing your part. Quite the opposite. You support them in ways that affirm their dignity and self-respect and that help ensure their safety. Treating people with dignity and respect means having high but reasonable expectations of them, not seeing them as less than you and needing the protection of your greater wisdom. This is the respect afforded competent adults who are important parts of a great team. If this is how you see them, then it will become how you think about and talk to them, and ultimately determine how they respond and act. And when they make mistakes, as all human beings will, you can also be responsible to them by telling them the truth. You have the difficult conversation with them. Your responsibility compels you to say what is uncomfortable for you to say and that is difficult for them to hear, but that is in their best interest to know. And when someone demonstrates a pattern of not learning from their mistakes, you do the right thing. You follow through on your most important responsibility to another human being. You remove them from the team and from threat of harm. Let's review. What seemed patently unfair, being accountable for results you cannot control, now points you to what is well within your control as a leader. You cannot be responsible for another person. You can and should be responsible to them. And as for the manager who worried about his second shift, he doesn't worry about what they might be doing anymore. Now that he is responsible to his team, he knows he has one of the best, if not the best teams in the industry. He trusts they will make the right decisions. Join me for video 4 when I'll share with you the big next step, building an ownership culture based on clear expectations.